Allô, allô. Eh bien, voilà. Welcome everybody to my channel. This is Pascal once again in Moscow. I'm recording this video on the 10th of April 2024. This is just the first video following the announcement I made a few weeks ago, when I opened this channel. I established in that previous announcement that I will be recording videos that will cover subjects and issues that are very common to humankind, mostly that Christians are struggling with. So I've been trying to figure out which way I go about it. Then I remember I've just written a book, which is now currently in Amazon. My mess is for sale. So I just thought, you know what, I will rather start by with the chapter number 1 in my book. It's talk about the identity. I really think before we go any further, we should actually establish first our identity, because anything that will follow in this channel, if you have no identity or if your identity is distorted or skewed, you may actually think that I'm blaspheming when I talk about certain subjects and how God helped me to handle them. So to avoid that, I first want to introduce you to what I call identity as a Christian. I will first bring an anecdote, a story that happened personally to my life. And through that story, I discovered later that God was just introducing me to something very significant in identity. I was about 12, 14, I think, 13, around there. And I was in boarding school in the DRC. I ended up in the boarding school because I decided to go to a certain school which was very far away from home. So I ended up in that boarding school. And as you know, boarding school, they have so many rules. They come with so many obligations. And I really was raised in a very laid-back kind of family. We were never subjected to like strict labor, you know. We actually had a dad was very, I think my dad had enmity to hard labor, you know. He always employed people to do work for him. We were always surrounded by mechanics who fix our trucks, or we had a lot of stuff in our farm, people who were actually working in our farm. And our farm was opposite a big prison. So my dad struck a deal with the director of the prisons and said, I will use some of your prisoners who already exceeded almost the time of incarceration. They did not return home because some of them had no family or they were just accustomed to prison. So they were actually free to go out and come back. So my dad employed them in our farm. And so we were really next to staff, people working for us. I experienced this from a very young age. So not like we didn't do the common work we do at home, but we did like do your bed, you know, those kind of things. But just like we never did this high, intensive labor work in our family. So when I ended up in a boarding school, the first thing that struck me was intensive work, labor. Oh my God, like we were making roads. We were young already, but me and my friend, I'm going to elaborate on him a little bit more longer. We were wondering why we are called to cut trees and make a road when the boarding school could just employ a company to do that, you know. So we were always like complaining, just me and Longo, we were just complaining, you know. The rest of the kids, you know, did their own things without really asking many questions. And so the boarding school also had a garden. Like that garden had many trees, like fruits, you know, trees. I mean, you talk about all the trees you can name, you know. This boarding school is worth mentioning, was almost like a convent. It was called Don Bosco, so it was actually run by some white Canadian And they were actually taking street kids, you know, and they had a program for street kids, and they had a large piece of land, so they also used another side of the land to rent it to other schools who actually could use it to use it as a boarding school for the students who came from other places of the country. We had no accommodation. So on one side, we had these street kids that were raised in that same compound, and the other side, we were more like, you know, kids come from family. So we were never really crossing each other because they were rough, man. They were so rough. Now, part of the work we used to do was to clean the garden on Saturday morning. I remember vividly. And we will go in this garden, which, by the way, we could see and watch from our dormitory, you know, on the second floor. We could actually look from the window, see the garden. And on Saturday, we will go in. We used to contemplate how the bird, you know, used to eat fruits, you know, and they would just poke on it, leave it, take another one, mango, pawpaw, banana, I mean, name it. It used to run us absolutely mad. We were actually, you know, boarding school, you never have enough foods. They don't allow you to like store your food. We have no fridges. We were eating at the same time, same food. They do that to establish kind of order so that there's no discrimination. So we sneak things like sweet, biscuit, you know, but you can't really have much food, especially perishable. So we never really had fruit as such, you know. So fruit in the boarding school used to be taken on Saturday, collected, and then take to the kitchen, and then it will be prepared for everybody for breakfast, or they will use it for other ingredients for salad and stuff. So that's what we did. Just go collect on Saturday morning, fill up this big basket, and then we will go to drop them in the kitchen. We were watched. Like the priests, they had a chosen captain, like in every group watch, and there was strict order, like you do not disturb the bird, okay, who come to eat the fruit, and you do not eat the fruit. You do not even smell it. You take it, you put in a basket. It was like a rule that was very severe. If you cross that line, you'll be severely punished. So when we're going there, first we're called to be quiet so that we don't disturb the bird. And then secondly, we'll not smell and eat the fruit or hide. We were checked in, checked out, like seriously. Yeah, people worry about airport checking now. I'm like, really? I was checked. I was in the boarding school, man. Like, checked. And they were checked. Because maybe you're hiding a grape, you know? So going in that boarding school was really a changing or sudden change of lifestyle. I'd ready those moments. I enjoy going in the garden, providing we could take some fruit, but because we were never allowed to eat fruit, so to me it was just labor. I hated it. Then me and Longo, because we studied together in the same school, and we were all doing electricity. We were like trying to become technical guys, you know, because those are the subjects that school provided. And we were trying to figure out how we will actually be able to take those fruits without permission sometimes, you know, because we were having enough of watching the birds and watching them poking on the fruit every evening. And those birds were not like normal civilized birds. They were spooky, like they were demonic. There was something characteristic about those birds that really, until today, I do not have ever seen a bird like that. They will come when we're on the window and watching on the garden, and they will pick up on the fruit until it drops. Some of them stay until they get rotten, and they will do it mostly in front of our window, so almost like we could see it. Like they were sent to actually annoy us, you know. Then we will really watch, and then Longo and I, we came up with an idea. We were like, okay, we may actually make a plan to steal some of this fruit, you know, okay? And the first idea was how we do it. We're on the second floor, so we figured out if we maybe find a way to go down in the garden at night, we could actually use a bucket, pull it with a rope, you know, use the same rope to go down, tie it on the bucket, put the fruit on, and pull it up. That was agreed. Longo and I, we were like, you know, together, you know. So the second challenge was, how do we sell the idea to the other kids? You know, how do you sell an idea of stealing mango and fruit to 13, 14-year-old kids, let's say 25 of them. How do you keep it as a secret? Okay, so we decided we're gonna do that slowly. We took days, like we were going one by one as we go to school. We were talking, each of me and Longo, each took a group of kids one by one. We convinced them, like in the 2 coming weeks, on our plans. We gave them all reason we had, and we got all the kids on our side. They all signed up to take the fruit at night. But we had 2 kids, the captain and his vice. Captain and his vice is those that who kept the keys. When we are locked in the dormitory, they kept the keys. They were supposed to switch off the light. Once they switch off the light, you can't put it on, those like rules. And if you want to go to the toilet, like you have to go ask them for permission. If you want to have to step out by any emergency. And then we had a problem to convince them because they were working directly with the institution. Okay, so we decided that we will try to talk to them, really reason with them, but we just antipathic. We could not get along. They were just different kids. And these guys, they chose kids who come from like a very back rural area. Those really over-subjected kids, who see a priest like God, white priest. So we're very distant in character with them. So we decided, okay, rather than convincing them, we're simply gonna threaten them. So Longo and I and a few other kids who were accomplices in the deal, we decided one day that we're going to sit them down and tell them what we're about to do. And we're going to tell them if they dare to betray us, we will simply kill them. One day we just cornered them, and we just told them the deal. And we say, since they know and everyone is already approved, if anything goes out, it's the 2. And we decided that we're really going to do so many bad things to them. We're going to make sure that even back home in the neighborhoods, we're going to pay a bully to hurt them. We threatened them, and they were even crying. They're like, okay, you're just going to go ahead with your plan. Actually, I'm not very proud we've done that before, but that's actually what happened. So we convinced them. They said they're not going to participate. They're not going to eat the fruit, but they're not going to say anything further. We were happy. We let the deal there. Now we have to go through technicality. That was the easy part, because we studied in a technical school. So we went to school, and Longo and I, we managed to borrow a big rope, because, like mechanic, they use them to pull at a truck. So we just told the teacher we had some things to do, homework, blah, blah, blah. He gave us that rope, and then I don't know if we bought a bucket or we stole. No, bucket we found in a boarding school. And then where the deal was on, now we were supposed to do the first transaction. And I was supposed to go down with the rope to the garden while everyone is up. And I actually have to climb down, I did some push-ups. I was towards the days of the deal. I was training for my upper body, I was so scared if I go down and I don't have to come up. But there was a plan. All the kids will pull me, so we agreed on all that. The night comes, there I go down. I go down, guys, man. I was like, wow, this is the first time I was in the garden and there was no one to supervise. Like, I was not watched. It was at night. Man, I lost it. I started eating the fruits, everything from the floor. I just started eating. And then I heard shh, because they could not speak loud, because you must know that the principal, or the one who was watching us, the supervisor, was on the first floor where our stairs go by before you go out of the building. So you could not go out of the building without him seeing you. So because we used the window, his window was also facing the garden. So I had to keep quiet so that doesn't get the noise and wake up. Now, I did manage to do all that. And then when they screamed, I look up as I realized, oh, I'm taken. I was very angry. We're never full in a boarding school. So I fill up the bucket, the pool, I throw on the floor, I take another one, the pool, the second one, third. And then now it was time to come up. Ali Hadid. Beep, I was pulled up, fall in the boarding school on the floor. We wash the mango, we distribute with all the kids. We ate the fruit, banana. It was a spectacular move. The kids everyone was sold, except the two other kids. Next day, we had fruit in our bags. We went to school. And the story was start running, but we managed to control it. Second time, we did. Third time, It was getting so great. We even thinking about taking so much fruit and try to do some business and sell to school to other kids. I think that's when everything turned around. One day I went down because Long and I were alternating, I go down first time, the second time he went. One day I went down and I realized there's no noise, I'm like, it's taking long. I'm eating like to tease my friend. Then I look up, I saw the supervisor looking down. Wow. You see a white guy at night, with a bit of a light reflection looking down in the garden, I could not believe it. He says to me in French, "Allez, monte, come up. I want to see." Man, I was so lazy, I never trained on that rope. That day I had to really train and pull myself up. Against the wall, I pulled myself up. As I was getting closer to the window, he just took his hand on my shoulder and pulled me in on the floor, man. I will spare you the details, but I was whipped. I was so whipped. And I realized Longo was on the floor as well, whipped. All the kids were in their bed. It was a big thing. Next day, we were summoned to the director's office. As I got there, with Longo, we're not talking to each other, like we were quiet. All other kids, like especially the two guys, captain and his vice, they were like, they just throw us under the bus, Okay, decision was made to call our parents who were excluded from the boarding school, Not from school, but the boarding school. We could attend school staying somewhere else because that boarding school was just a facility. But they were actually saying they will write an email to the school to tell them what we did, influencing the school to kick us out as well. So we're like, this is it. I was looking at that day like, this is the end of my life. This is it. I'm done. How did you end up doing this? And they summoned our parents. So on the second day, we never went to school. Our bags were packed. My dad and Longo's dad were supposed to come and collect us. And as we were waiting in a corridor in the principal's office, we were on a banquet, me and Longo, facing down, wrapped up in shame. We were called thieves. We were called rotten oranges. We were called all names. We were done. We were like lost kids. There was no more hope. These supposed to be a Christian convert school, but the names they actually labeled us after stealing fruit were heavy names, We were so in shame. I remember actually I was called, and I was just thinking what my dad will do, and Longo was crying, and we could not even give consolation to each other. That morning, as we were waiting for our parent to come, we didn't know who will come first. Then Longo's dad rock by the school, park his car, walk in the corridor. I used to pass my weekend sometimes at Longo's house, so his dad knew me well. But that day, he didn't even look at me, just passed, boom. He goes to the principal's office. Then we heard the principal start shouting like a child. Like he was giving it to him, like shouting. And he apologized, You could see through these glasses on the door. They were like a crafted glass. You can see through the shed, Can't see completely clear, but you can see. And he apologized. After they finished shouting at him, he walked out. He asked Longo to follow him, with that voice, the tone. Longo followed him, and then as they were going to the car, Longo wanted to sit at the passenger side. And his dad clapped him. He's like, "Go at the back," And he threw his bag on him, school bag, and we had other bags as well. And Longo put them in the car, and they left. I was left alone in a corridor. And when I saw that picture, I was done. I was finished. I was contemplating a lot of things. Suicide, there was no knife next to me. There was nothing really, and I was scared to die. And I was just like, wow, what must I do? I could not vanish. And then I start smelling these things in the corridor. I look around, what's smelling? Then I realized actually, it was me, I associate that day, that fear as a smell, you fear so much, you start releasing gas, that smell, that's how much fear I had. Just to laugh a little bit. So a little bit, wait a little bit more, my dad also woke up. I could see from far through the window. I actually heard the car. We had an Opel Ascona, and my dad was coming. I could see the dusk because the driveway to the compound was actually long. As he get closer, I could see, I knew it was our car. He parked the car, he was a smoker, he lighted a cigarette, he just puffed twice or three times. I saw him killing it with his shoes, and then he walked in a corridor. He saw me where I was passing, he just nodded his head like to acknowledge me. He knew I was not there to celebrate my wedding, he knew there was actually something very, very serious to get called in for. So, so what he did, he passed me and he went in. I'm just showing you the park I am in. Is a park. It's actually a park in Moscow. They have a lot of park in Russia. So as he passed, he went in the boarding school, in the director's office. I heard the noise again. The director started again telling my dad in French, yeah, your child is a blah, blah, blah. And all I heard was thief, 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 thief. Rotten fruit, rotten orange. You need to go. I don't want him here, blah, blah. Okay, so I was expecting my dad to walk out, do the same thing, clap me, and then take me home. Whatever he could have done to me, I didn't care. I just wanted out of that place. I was ashamed to see my friend, and I was in pain, confused, you know, so I just didn't care, as long as we could just go. After the principal finished screaming at my dad, and I heard the door open, I look up, I saw my dad pointing at me, and he's telling the principal, you know, is this what Canadian big guy? He says, how do you call my son again? How do you dare call my son again? You did just call my son a thief? A thief? What? You call my son a thief? Let me tell you my son's name, because he's my son. My son's name is Sarah, you know. I'm Pascal, I'm also known as Sarah. Sarah, you know, short for Seraphim, you know, a name of an angel. My dad is like, that is his name. I forbid you from calling him a thief. Especially not because he took mango. All he did was taking fruit without permission. That does not grant you permission to label my son a thief. You do not call my son a thief. By the way, why do you think I brought him in a boarding school? To study life challenges. And if he just happened to cause any chaos in this place, yes, I'm willing to listen, but not after you've called my son a thief, not after you really label him the way you did. And in my presence, I dare you. As a consequence of what you did, I'm not taking him. This is a school, this is a boarding school, this is where you need to learn discipline and anything else to grow in society. So I'm going to leave him behind. You do what you have to do. You call me when school fees is due, not for this rubbish. Okay, enough is enough. My dad just closed the door, walked past me, get in his car, left. I didn't know what to do. So I'm confused, and I'm like, what must I do now? Must I run? Must I follow him? I don't know. But there was a sense of relief that I was feeling to just hear my dad calling me by my name. Contrary to the name I received, you know, I was given a few days ago, prior to that day, all the shame I had on my shoulder just started disappearing. I'm like, is this even normal? Fast forward, I'm 30-something, close to 40. I'm already a born-again Christian. And the Lord one day was just ministering to me and says, do you actually realize that that day in the corridor was the devil sitting, waiting for your dad to confirm your new identity, which the principal gave you, a thief, so that on this day, 40 years later, something years later, you will actually sit with this shame and accept when the devil call you loser or anything. And that time I was going through another challenge, you know, business, relationship. I mean, I lost a son. He says he was going to use that and even say, oh, by the way, you are also a thief. Remember, even your dad called you a thief one day. He says your dad, what he did that day was to actually obliterate the enemy from ever labeling you more than what your name you've been given. How much more? How many times as Christian, when a circumstance happens in your life, our lives, we take the label that the people gave us because we're in the wrong. Yes, I stole the mango. Yes, but my dad came and changed the narrative. He says, I took without permission. That's how he called it. He says, he took without permission. That's all. You understand? My dad told the principal, I remember, you think it was a pleasant to go through the wall and climb? He says, if it was on the first floor, he could have just walked in and take. Why you want to make it sound like he did something very dangerous? I was so surprised my dad defended me like that. And later when now the Lord was telling me, your father called you by your name, and this is how also I call you, you my son, you are righteous. You understand? The Bible says it was, I don't remember which book, but it says, I think it's in, is it in Roman? It says, through one offense, through one man offense, death reigned. But through the abundance of grace and the gift of righteousness, through the gift of righteousness, we reign as Christian. So unless you take the new identity that you are born again, you are blessed abundantly, unless you acknowledge that you are righteous, you will never reign. If my father never really called me by my name that day, I don't think my life could have been the same today. My father restored my identity. He knew that, yes, I stole mango, I took without permission, but he knew that one day I could grow in life, even buy a farm and full of mangoes. I could have paid that school back with interest, but to get back my identity, to restore it, especially that he died before I became a Christian, my dad knew somehow that was never going to be possible. So he fought for my identity, almost overlooked the mistake that I made. When I returned back home, I remember he says to me, son, you know, I cover you at school publicly, but in private, if you do anything, even if you touch a fly, I will kill you. I was so shocked. I'm like, wow. He says, I will kill you. So the whole holiday, I was just running away from my brothers. I didn't even flies. I was running from flies. I'm like, I'm not creating any problem because my dad told me, I will kill you. You know, I will kill you if cause any chaos in this home. You understand? I behaved so well that holiday. It was amazing. I only saw the benefit of that incident later when I became a Christian. So I just want to tell you, I don't know what you've been called by your ex-wife, your ex-husband, your former boss, or other people, your friend, haters out there. I don't know what identity they gave you, but I'm here to remind you that the identity that you have is of Christ. As Jesus is, so are you in this world. That's what the Bible says. Throw away all the other identity. Does not matter what you have done. Only when you have this revelation, you can overcome challenges and mistakes that you have made. The idea here is not to just become reckless, but the idea here is that to first sit on the truth so that you can fix the facts. Our identity in Christ have made us whole again. This is who we are in Christ. We are righteous. Now, when you make a mistake, yes, you need to repair it with time, but you cannot do that if you sit on a wrong foundation. So I'm here to tell you, take the identity that you have in Christ, wear it on your sleeve regardless of what. You are the righteousness of God no matter what. On this note, I leave you because I need to do my work, and stay tuned for the next episode.